What is up, dude?
How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I was just telling you, but I want to say it again on the recording. I am so excited for this conversation because I always do like a deep dive on all my guests before they hop on. So I'm gonna try and like hit you with some things that you maybe don't remember or some things that were maybe seemed kind of like small in your journey here. But dude, doing a deep dive on your social media, number one, the biggest thing that stood out to me is you've been so consistent for so long. Talk about why
It's
you have done that across social media, and what platforms are you super active on outside of Instagram and TikTok?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first off, I appreciate you having me on, dude. I like
Yeah,
any podcast, whatever your podcast is awesome. I actually did a little bit of deep dive on you, watched a couple episodes. It's
thank
just
you.
super cool. I just love talking about stuff, and even people like doing kind of interviews on me lets me reflect and figure out some stuff that I didn't even realize. So super
Yeah,
cool. I appreciate it. But as far as like the social media, like consistency, I'd say, like you said, is the number one thing that I've been doing. I
hmm,
started like very consistently. I want to say November 2020, like
okay,
a little bit early in 2019, but that was like just posting some stuff on TikTok every month. I'd maybe do an Instagram post that had like a stupid motivational caption and then just me like flexing.
yeah,
It was very
that was all of us.
lackluster. Yeah,
That was all of us back then.
it was very big. Like I saw Christian Guzman and did a little bit of YouTube 2017, then just very like got off track. But
Yeah,
2019, beginning of 2020, or I guess end of 2020, November was when I started posting about like V1. And from that, well, V1 and supplements in general, from that day, I had
yeah,
a post that went a lot more viral than I thought. Last podcast, I thought it only did like 40,000 views. And I checked like last week and it did 500,000 views. So I didn't realize it did
wow,
that big. That was my first ever post that I was sitting there with a supplement like rack behind me with all of my supplements that I really enjoyed. Before I even started V1, the concept was there, but I hadn't started. And I was just like, yo, here are my credentials. I put up some pictures of my last cut right before I went in. I did bodybuilding in 2018 and competed. Put up some pictures just to show people like I kind of walk the walk. Um, and said, yo, if you guys have any questions about any supplements, it's kind of my realm of expertise. I worked at the vitamin shop. I've been in this kind of business or this industry for the past 3 years. Let me know. And so like from there, I don't know why it went off and hit 500,000 views. I really have no clue, but it was just comments
yeah,
like, yo, rate this Total War, rate Ghost, rate this. And I just took every single comment, and you can do the stitch feature on
yep,
TikTok, or do the comment feature and do the video. I just did videos about everything and started rating. Everything was super cringy, but like that, with that consistency, I posted in the beginning 4 to 5 times a day, just
yeah,
ripping out as much content as I could, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't work. And it really spiraled from there. I introduced my brand a little bit. People want to know more about that. I went to go work at the manufacturing company in NutriCap, which I guess is a whole nother story. It was just consistency for the past 3.5, 4 years.
yeah, yeah. That I mean, that's the biggest thing that stood out to me was just how consistent you've been, and even up until recently on Instagram,
Yeah.
which I know you just got your Instagram back,
Yeah.
right?
Finally.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about that, but what I noticed even up until like that time period, you were pretty much posting twice a day. It looked like on Instagram still.
Yeah. No, I was trying Instagram. Like, I guess my main two platforms, to go back to the question that you asked earlier, is probably TikTok and Instagram. I tried
Okay.
YouTube and I'm trying to get back into it, at least the shorts and everything. But Instagram and TikTok are the main two. TikTok, yeah, I try to do, or Instagram, sorry, at least 1 to 2 videos, one in the morning and the one in the afternoon, whether it's a
Yep.
review or one post in the morning that's a picture, that's a slideshow, and then one review in the afternoon. Same thing with like the V1 Instagram as well. I try to do at least one there as well, which
Yeah.
from what I've seen, I don't know, at least my analytics and everything, if I'm posting a little bit more consistent, if you go over that 2 post threshold, you get a little bit of kind of feedback to where it's, oh, the likes and views aren't doing as good. But 1 to 2 posts a day is kind of the sweet spot I've seen.
Yeah. And we'll talk about kind of your strategy and everything, but I do think you have a great mix of kind of like viral and value content,
Hmm.
which is I think the biggest thing right now is if you can draw people in with like stuff like your supplement reviews,
Yeah.
and you're always, I mean, I've got a ghost right here, but you're always like doing the thing where you're just like putting it in front of the camera to
Hmm.
start out. Like that's those logos and things like that are what attracts like a ton of people into your page. And then
Exactly.
as they're coming to you for like their trusted supplement information provider,
Hmm.
like you're like kind of slow, you don't throw it in people's face that you have your own company. You
Yeah.
kind of just are like, hey, I do have this thing based on all my knowledge. Like you
Mhm.
guys can, here's this, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think you present it beautifully. Like I really
Thank you.
do. And I came across your page a couple of years back from one of your supplement reviews. Like that's how I found you. And then I realized like, oh, this dude's in Dallas. And then, oh, this dude knows some of the guys that I know. So super, super cool, man.
Thank you.
But I went all the way back on your Instagram, all the way back to some videos of you demonstrating, showing off the handles, man. You
Yeah.
started out in basketball. Was that kind of like your first like athletic endeavor?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was always like a huge sports guy. So like my parents literally put me in everything. Like, I was gymnastics, basketball, hockey, and baseball was like my four
Wow.
sports probably through. I mean, that was only through probably fourth, fifth grade, and then I had to choose hockey and basketball, and then those two were the same season. So then I had to choose just straight basketball, and then it was basketball all through high school.
Yeah. That's kind of how I was too. I played every sport until I got just to high school, and I was like, I would not. I should have done more. I feel like I should have done more. Now
I
looking
agree.
back on it, I'm like, I should have just done every sport and just see what happens. And you just have so much fun doing those things.
Oh yeah.
But at the time in my head, like what I was thinking is I would not forgive myself if I went out for football and then had an injury that kept me from playing basketball.
Hmm.
And so I was just I was too in on basketball. But
Yeah.
we had a similar, I don't know when your injury kind of fell, but you had, I think I saw an ACL injury
Mhm.
that it looked like forced you more into like the bodybuilding and fitness side of things. I had a knee injury.
Okay.
And I still have like a hole in my knee that pushed me
Wow.
to stop playing basketball once I got to college and go into fitness as well. So
Jeez.
what was it, an ACL tear or
Yeah, yeah. So it was sophomore. Like I was always good. I was very Larry Bird esque. That
okay.
I could do. I was never like quick in like never had the speed. I
Hmm.
because I was fast. It just my agility and everything wasn't the most unbelievable. I could shoot very good. I could jump okay. I was just more of a
Yeah.
fundamental basketball player. But I think I was very good. So I was on varsity freshman year. Sophomore year was like kind of like I worked up to starting on varsity freshman year, and then like sophomore year was kind of like my show out year. I wanted to get a really this college scouts look in, but I ended up at the end of the season tearing my ACL um, from somebody doing a collision. So like normally when you do ACL tears, it's like you're making a move or you land and your legs like in a weird position. I landed and my teammate hit my knee to where it just snapped like the other way and my body fell this way. So it was not, yeah, it sucked. But from there,
Yeah.
like, yeah, like you said, I really got pushed into bodybuilding. I wanted to, like, that's when I got pushed in like David Goggins and Tony Robbins, and I really started looking at some more self development type stuff,
Hmm.
which I still do and I love. But then I got into Jay Cutler and Elliot Hulse, all like kind of the OG YouTube guys.
Yep.
And that just really pushed me like, yo, I can actually develop my physique. I can watch what I'm putting in my body and really become way better in the performance sector, which was basketball at the time. And then I fell in love with the whole bodybuilding, becoming really just slapping on as much muscle as I possibly could.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was that it was a very similar arc that I feel like a lot of guys our age were going through, and I kind of had the same type of thing. I got into like Christian Guzman and Andy Frisella was my
Yep.
main. I heard about David Goggins and a lot of those other guys through listening to Andy Frisella's podcast and listening to the
Hmm.
MFCEO project. So I dove like deep into that stuff
Yeah.
and went into the different entrepreneurship. I had started a few like random companies here and
Hmm.
there just because I had always even the corny line that I always say is I was an entrepreneur before I even knew there was a
Yeah.
word for it.
Hmm.
I'm curious with you because the earliest company that I saw pop up on your Instagram was I think it was KJ or KP Fitness.
KB Fitness. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that
So
was
tell me about that. Was that your first like go in entrepreneurship?
probably, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I was ever more entrepreneur. Like I love it now, and I love the whole business. And it's like it's a game. You're
Yep.
trying to build up this thing that you've created to
Yep.
be kind of known more than yourself. Um, but I'd say I was more of like I guess I wanted to be a creative in that aspect. But my first business that was the KP Fitness. It was the name of my YouTube channel. I tried to do some more educational, informational video type stuff. Then I did work at a training center, so I was a group training instructor for kids and young adults.
Okay.
And I did a little bit of personal training and tried to start the online training thing like right. I'm trying to think when that was. It was 2015 ish, so right before I graduated. I think before it even became really big, I tried to do a little bit of the online training type thing. So that was the
Yeah.
first thing with KB Fitness. I got some shaker bottles, I got some T-shirts, tried to sell them, and yeah, I mean, everybody starts with something, which is what you have to do though. I mean, everybody, you have to try multiple
Yeah.
different assets. So I think I did that, and I went into something else that I can't remember what I even started business wise because it was so short because it didn't work.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm a big believer of trying any and everything. Like if it doesn't work out, okay, maybe that's not what's for me. I got to try something
Mhm.
else and move on. Like it's never a loss. It's just okay, that didn't work
No,
out.
it's not.
Maybe I'll move, like pivot and try something else. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it is very true. You have to fail fast and fail often. I think I saw that you talk
mhm.
about that in one of your like fail as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
What was kind of like a caption of one of the posts that I saw. But it has, I've had way more business failures than I've had that have done any type of numbers whatsoever. And
Mhm.
but each one that kind of like fails or stops or I just stop pursuing it, it kind of is like the floor for the next
Yeah.
one that starts or pops up. And you just kind of
Exactly.
learn a little bit every time. And
Hmm.
so, all the different iterations of what's now become V1,
Yeah.
and all the things you're doing with that was kind of leading to it.
Hmm.
Which I believe the first version of that was KJ Performance Nutrition, right?
Yeah.
And you started that in your parents' basement.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
That
did I
was
see that you sold your truck to do that?
I did. So
Yeah,
I sold multiple cars to get a little bit of a cash influx to push it into the business. But yeah, the first one was like my graduation present from my parents, which I was grateful. My parents are very well off, and they've provided me with so many different opportunities. But so they gave me
yeah,
a truck, and the first truck that they gave me was like my lease truck, and they bought it out for me. I think it was like a brand new Ford F-150 at the time, and I had the option. Okay, I could either keep that truck or trade it in, get the cash value of that truck, and go buy something else. So I traded the truck in. I got a 2015 Ram Classic or something of that nature. It was a nice truck, but it was a super base model. And between the nice Ford that I had compared to this one, it was maybe 6 to 7 grand. So I
yeah,
took that in, and that was part of the money that I used to start V1. Because all in, I think with the first run, with all like the business documents, with the website, Shopify, and everything. I mean, it all adds
yeah,
up. And I think it was around 10 to 12 grand. So I used that little bit of the truck money that I traded in, and then I somehow, back when like Tesla was going crazy on all the like the very beginning of the stock stuff, I was kind of getting into it. I made some very dumb trades, but they ended up
mhm,
working out, and I got another like
yeah,
6 grand from that. It was like a very weird turnaround. I haven't really messed with it then or since then, but so yeah, I used that to funnel the first ever V1 launch, which was around that November 2020 time. And then even after that, that was like my dream truck because I kind of modded it out and added some stuff onto it. Just fun. Then I sold that one again and bought a Mazda CX-3, which is kind of like a smaller crossover ish car, but it was on the cheaper side too. So I made another 8 grand from that and pushed it back in the business. And I was able to go from like 300 units to 700 units. And I was just slowly trying to get money and cash wherever I could to just
yeah.
push as much product as I could.
It People don't realize how tough it is to get. So I did a couple of things in the product space, an equipment company, and then like a apparel brand back in college.
Yeah.
Um, People don't realize how hard it is because watching Christian Guzman,
Hmm.
you see all of those things and you see kind of the evolution of Alphalete and all that, and you're like, I can do a t-shirt company. I feel like that's what
Hmm.
everyone kind of starts with,
Yeah.
and it e-commerce and like a product business is so tough
Oh
because of all
yeah.
the overhead and the storage and the
Uh-huh.
shipping and all the extra costs that is wrapped up. You have to build it to a substantial scale to make money at all.
Yes.
And I I never realized how big of a disconnect it was between what it looks like whenever you have one of the I'm sure you've had these situations, but I remember whenever I started my fitness equipment company and I started to like sell and do some numbers. It wasn't ever anything crazy, but my not my parents, my friends back home, like where I grew up, thought that just because I had started this company and I had a bunch of products and stuff like that, they legitimately thought I was a millionaire.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just like Baker started a company,
Mm.
and I can see that people are buying it because of people are posting it and stuff. And it's like, wow,
Yeah.
he's got millions. I remember I went back to a dinner, and there was like 15 or 20 of us, and we'd all got together because I was back in town for like a weekend or whatever.
Mhm.
And a couple, like one of them, started making some comments about like asking, and I could tell he was being serious. He was kind of like poking and like a little bit, but he was
Yeah.
like, you think you're gonna cover the dinner? And I'm like, what? Like, that
Yeah.
me starting this company means I'm broker than all of you guys.
Mhm.
Like, that's what that means. It doesn't mean that I'm any version of successful,
Yeah.
you know, um, but
No, I
it's
think it's just
so hard to make money there.
it is, and I mean, you know this. It's just a different way of thinking. Like nobody, like even my parents had a little bit, not so much backlash, but they were very like iffy and like very like, you sure you want to really put this much money and this much time and investment into this? You should like get a job and climb the ladder, which my dad did, and he's crazy successful, so it is possible. But he worked his
Yeah,
ass
yeah,
off. It's just really different, and even like kids our age, they see it now online that it is possible and everything, but nobody ever tries to start. And that's like the main thing. So when you do start,
yeah,
you do get a little bit of success. And it's like, I mean, too, it took me, I didn't start giving myself money, like an actual salary paycheck till I think 7 months ago.
yeah,
So it took like that long for me to finally be able to like kind of give myself a little bit of payment as like a cushion. Okay, I have some type of security. And same thing with like my own personal bank account didn't start growing until like not too long ago, just because
hmm,
pushing every possible thing back into the business, and especially in a product based business, you're not just making all of that money. Like let's say you have 1,000 units, you're selling for 50 bucks a piece. That's 50 grand. It's not like you get all 50 grand in revenue and you're just
you don't,
pocketing that. And okay, here comes another 2,000 supplements. Like you have to get that 50,000. Okay, maybe you made $10 a pop. You only made 10 grand, but that 10 grand is going right back into the next round of supplements, so you can get more because the demand's higher. Like people don't understand a lot that goes into the business, and especially a
they don't.
product based business where you have to have reorders compared to an online business where that might be a realm that I would do if I had to go back and do it again. It would be some type of online training or just some type of something to where you said you're in
Yeah,
software. I think that's great to where it's a something that you have, you can sell it and you can pretty much easily replicate it for zero cost almost.
yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. So I started to realize whenever I started online coaching, I I started to realize the power of like service based
mhm,
businesses and realize that I'm making in this company over here where I'm trying to sell t-shirts, if I make $1,000, it's gone. Really,
yeah,
like it's a wash, or like I have to still put that $1,000 plus more money in so that I can order enough to, like you said, be able to have a new design in a t-shirt, right? Or a new, flavor in a pre-workout.
hmm,
And that costs extra money, like the extra money that you would have made. Whereas over here in coaching, I'm personal training people, I'm signing them up for memberships, I'm doing all these other things. And it's like, I don't have to pay, like if you're working at a gym, you got to pay a little bit of a cut for rent, but I don't have to pay anybody anything.
yeah,
And so then I kind of learned it there. And then taking it into the software company, it's been, software as a service.
hmm,
And that kind of industry or line of service is very, very lucrative because you build something one time and then you can kind of sell it
yep,
an infinite amount of times. And you're going to be working on updates. You might have employees and customer support and stuff like
hmm,
that. But the ratio of like one sale and what's going to be cut out of it is not near as high as product.
yeah,
Um, it is a real thing, and it's something that people don't think about. $1 million in one business is not the same as $1 million in another business. They can be
yes,
two very different pictures
a
as
hundred
far as the
percent.
trickle down
And
effect.
but I find it very funny, interesting too, to where when people look at software, I mean, there's definitely a lot of people who are in software that like you look at them like Microsoft and Apple, like all these people that are like, okay, yeah, they're super wealthy. But when it comes to like a product base, people think the same thing as compared
Yeah,
to maybe somebody at my level who's in software or something. They're probably like, he hasn't made it to where they see me and they see V1 kind of. We're not unbelievable, but we're getting almost everywhere we possibly can. I mean, with the vitamin shot,
yeah,
that's unbelievable. And that was one of my main goals. But they see that and they're like, holy shit, this dude must be loaded. To where it's like that's we're doing decent, but we're
hmm,
definitely not quite there yet. So it's a different mind frame, and it's funny to think what the general population really thinks when you get to a
yeah.
certain level.
Very, very funny. Um, okay, so let's kind of like backtrack a little bit
Yep.
with that KJ performance nutrition. Okay, would you consider that the first iteration of V1?
Yeah. Yes, those
Okay.
mainly. Well, technically, KJ Performance Nutrition is the S corp that kind of holds everything right now.
Okay.
So it's a little bit
Understood.
different. It's KJ Performance Nutrition doing business as V1 Nutra. So
Got it.
it's kind of
Okay.
the first name was KJ Performance Nutrition. Then we changed it to Victus Performance, which
I
is
saw that.
V1CTUS. Then
Yep.
that was a whole another thing. Legally, there's another Victus supplement brand, but it's like a geriatrics brand.
Mhm.
So just our lawyer was like, "Yeah, you probably should change it because we had just changed it. It's not that big of a deal to change it again." And then that's where we just
Yeah.
came up with V1 Nutra. So
I saw the Victus label, so I was gonna ask about that too. Um, and again, another kind of like similar thing. I had a creatine gummy brand called
Mm,
Revive Gummies.
I feel like I've
Um,
heard of that, honestly.
you probably saw it at one point or another because it built up pretty fast, and we were in I got into like 20 or 30 stores pretty quickly, and we are doing a lot of ads, we are doing a lot of social, and I get a call one day from the owner of a company, which I mean, you probably can get it was
Yeah,
Revive
Revive Brand.
Stops.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that who they were at the time.
Mhm.
And I was 20, I think 22, maybe 23 at the time. And I thought I had checked all my boxes, dude. I had the trademark for Revive Gummies. I had bought all the domain stuff. Like I had done everything. And so I had no idea what and the reality is like if somebody approaches you like that or sends you a cease and desist or something, if they're bigger than you,
Oh yeah.
you have no
Yeah.
recourse of
Yeah.
like what you can do unless because you can't put up the money to fight
No,
back, you know?
exactly.
Um, so that's a crazy
Yeah.
similarity too.
Well, that's,
But
I
you
reached.
went straight into V1 after that?
Yes. So, well, if do you mind if I ask you if is that Dom
Yeah.
who gave you a call? Okay. Well, I reached out to him too early. So I got if we super backtrack to go kind of into that,
Mhm.
like in the very beginning, before I even decided to like pursue the whole supplement thing, I knew I wanted to get in that space. I worked at the vitamin shop part time for about a year and a half, my junior and senior year of college. And then right when Corona hit, I still had just my um, what the hell is it called? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. Internship. Geez, I still had an internship I had to complete. It's like my final semester to get the exercise science and business degree.
Yep.
Um, so I was trying to like reach out to as many brand owners as I could. Like Dom was one of them. I reached out to Nick Bear from BPN. And I think I literally cold emailed and tried to cold call at least 50 to 100 different manufacturers or brands and anybody that I could possibly find in the space. Just looking for an opportunity. I'd like totally go out and live wherever you need me to live. I just want to get in the space, create that relationship, whatever. I'll work for free. Literally did everything. And I
Yeah.
think like one or two manufacturers reached back out. Dom reached back out and then like ghosted me, and it's something nothing ever came from it. But NutriCap is a manufacturer that they used to make Gorilla Mind. They made Black Magic, a couple of their relatively large supplement brands. They reached back out, yo,
Yeah.
let's yeah, we'd love to have you. Let's try and figure this out. And then Corona hit hard, and they were like, probably should wait about 2 to 3 months, and then we'll revisit this. So that's at that point when I started V1. I had the idea and was like, okay, I made a little bit of money. I traded in the truck. Let's just do this. I'm locked into my house for whoever the hell knows how long. Let's try
Yeah.
something. That was my only way at the time of knowing how I could get some type of education in the space. So I just kind of went for it. I literally had no idea how to run a business, no idea how to set up a business. All I knew is that I knew supplements and I want to try it. So that was kind of the
So
real beginning.
were you using NutriCap as your manufacturer as
Yes.
well?
Yeah.
Okay,
So I
perfect.
decided to just do
Perfect.
that. Yeah. And then if something
Yeah.
ended up working out, I'd be like, okay, sick, I'm going there, which it did end up working out. So like after I did that first run, I reached back out to them probably 2, 3 months later. I'd sold out of the pre-workout, I think in a day, and then the protein. So I had 144 units of pre-workout, sold that out in a day. Unbelievable, weird. I think I had 30,000 followers on TikTok at the time, which was the main social push. The protein maybe another took about 4 days to a week maybe to sell out of the 144 units of protein. It was unbelievable. I had 16 grand. I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, this is awesome.
You're like, I'm rich.
Yeah,
This
literally.
is
It was
I'm
like that
hitting.
was the most money I've ever seen, especially like
Yeah.
making that amount of money is that I've never been able to replicate that feeling, like ever.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, then maybe a month after that, I just saying I reached back out to them and say, yo, I need to put in another order. Slash, how are we looking? I really am still interested in the internship thing. And they reached back out and they're like, yo, come down for an interview. I flew out to Georgia. That's where the manufacturer is. Did the interview. They loved it. And then I went to go work for them January. I think the first week of January. So I guess that was only about a 2 month span from when I had the product um, launched. So I went to go work for them. It only lasted about 4 months. And after that first week of being an intern, they're like, yo, we need you on like full time as a brand developer, which is just kind of a salesperson. So
Yeah.
that like was my total introductory. That 4 months, I learned every possible thing about manufacturing. I worked every possible station from like samples, working the line. Like I did everything. And it was like this huge like bolus, like information dump into my brain, which was crazy cool. But then after that 4 months, like V1 was taken off, and that was the virality of my TikTok at the time, probably 2021, maybe early 2022. I'd say 2021. I was getting like crazy numbers on TikTok, and it was going off. Instagram, I didn't really do much at that time. And I think we sold, I want to say like 1,500 units of like the new pre workout, which was like the first big tub of V1 that we did, was like the actual low dose or low stim, like high pump, high focus that I really
Yeah.
pushed. I think we sold 1,500 units in like 5 minutes or something. It was like the most unbelievable thing. I haven't been able to replicate it since. Like once again, it was nuts. TikTok was just crazy. So then I guess
Yeah.
after that, I of course was starting to make some more money. I could live on my own and still pursue the business. And I like sat down with the CEO and kind of was like, "Yo, I probably am gonna quit." And he's like, "Yeah, do your thing, man." Like he pushed me to go pursue this, and
That's
that
awesome.
was kind of the start to be like, okay, I really got to take this thing seriously.
Yeah. And isn't it such a terrible isn't it such a terrible feeling that you can't replicate some of those early things? Like I'm sure are doing bigger numbers and crazier stuff now,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like that first there's nothing like that first time
Yeah,
that something like that happens.
no, it's crazy. Like I don't even know the number that we ended up on that day. I think was maybe 30, 40,000 in sales. And then like until we sold out, and we've like tripled and quadrupled that number in a day, like since then. And it's like, that's
Mhm.
still, I mean, that's an awesome feeling, of course, but it's still like
Yeah.
that first ever, like when you're, I don't know, when people finally see what you're doing and it actually pays off of, I mean, at that time, maybe a year of like crazy hard work, it pays off. And I guess the other feeling that made that so unbelievable was that was the time I think I had like less than $400 in my bank account. Like I put it all in on this run, and I didn't realize like how much it had actually cost. The apartment that I lived in at the time, I think it was like $1,200 for like a 1 bedroom in Georgia.
Yeah.
And I was like calling my mom before the drop, and I was like, if this drop doesn't go good, I might need a little bit of help this month for rent.
Yeah.
And then it dropped, and it was like, okay, the next day I have like 40,000 in my bank account. I'm like, holy shit, this is something.
That
It
is
was
so
a
crazy.
nuts time, but yeah, it is funny. I mean, seeing that little bit of success in the beginning stages is that's what keeps you going. That's what pushes you,
It
really.
is. It absolutely is. And it's that has got to be a super cool feeling, especially the behind the scenes of like
Hmm.
if this does not work, like
Yeah.
I might not be able to pay my rent this month. You
Hmm.
know, selling the cars, selling all these
Yeah.
things, and like getting it to where okay, it's all building up to this one moment, and then to have
Mhm.
it be that massively successful, that that's so cool, man. That's so
Well, I mean,
cool.
I guess let me ask you this too: is there times like even that thinking of it now, I'm thinking like, why the hell did I like? Why am I risking that much? Like that seems crazy that I
Yeah,
would do something like that. Do you have times like you kind of look back and it's like I actually did that?
yeah. I have. It doesn't at the time. For me, it never registers at the time, I
Hmm.
would say.
Yeah.
You know, like, I packed up everything, and this was more of, like, a personal type deal, but I packed up everything while we were launching the supplement company. I was running marketing for a manufacturer, for a supplement
Yeah.
manufacturer, and they ended up giving me the I don't know, responsibility of like spinning off this idea that I had, which was creatine gummies. And I'd never seen it done, and I'd never seen anybody kind of like tackle that. So I was like, this could be something. Um, I ended up on a call. Like the idea of it was actually came up with on a call with Men's Health Magazine, the director of fitness at Men's Health Magazine, and he thought it was really interesting. And so that's what kind of like perked up
Hmm. Yeah.
my boss's ears, and they were like, "Hey, this might be like, could you do this for real?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it just would take me a little bit to formulate it and see what we could do." And so, in the middle of all that and starting all that, my now wife of almost a year, she moved back home to Texas. She like took a we graduated college, and she moved to back home to Dallas where we live now. And I was kind of like stuck between a rock and a hard place because I'm like, I don't want to do like a long distance thing. My
Hmm.
lease is up in a few months. You know, I've got this job here. I don't have anything in Dallas. If I go down to Dallas, I'm not going to be in maybe like an entrepreneurial spot.
Hmm.
And luckily at the time my bosses had been like, "Hey, we want to keep you. So like if whatever we got to do to figure out if you're going to follow her, we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And so like that was a great thing that enabled me to kind of take that leap. But
Hmm.
when the Revive gummies deal didn't work out and we had all that stuff, the legal stuff and everything, I kind of was in a similar spot to where you're talking about, where I was just kind of like, I've got this coaching company that does decent numbers that I could go all in on that.
Hmm.
I've got this equipment company, which is basically costing me money to run,
Yeah.
because it's, again, pouring everything back into it and investing into it every single month. And I was kind of like learning that I really thought at that point I was going to have to go get like a corporate job somewhere
Hmm.
and then like make all of this stuff my 5 to 9, you know? And it was at the time, as the bank accounts and everything dwindled and I kind of was in this transitionary period, I didn't really feel, I felt the urgency of it, but I kind of always thought, and I don't know if this is like a entrepreneurial kind of like trait. I think it is. We have imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
but we also have like a weird belief that's almost kind of like a um, false sense of confidence that we were just meant to, like, this is going to work out for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you feel that too?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, almost not even like if it's gonna work out or like a specific thing's gonna work out, like it's gonna work out in the end, basically, is what
Yeah.
I always think is if it's not this thing, all right, I don't let it get me down. I shift my focus and okay, we're going all in on this now. That's
Yeah.
what I think. I think everybody, if you are successful at something, it has to be like that. You can't sulk and be like, oh, it didn't work out. Damn, now I got to go do this. Like, sucks, didn't work out. All right, do something else. Like that wasn't the end game, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's kind of what it was. I had a conversation with my wife. Like, she actually approached me and had a conversation. She was like, "Hey, I'm working and I believe in you. And if this stuff, like, if you want to go pursue all your own stuff, then if something goes wrong, like, I've got you." And that was, everything I needed to know to make sure that I proposed to her.
Hmm.
But
That's huge.
after that, I sought out like some mentorship, because I'm like, if I'm gonna do this thing, I want to make sure that I'm doing it right. I sought out some mentorship with a guy named Mike Krausen, which you
Okay.
might have heard him in an episode. Mike kind of brought me into his brand, Coffee Over Cardio,
Mm,
and I, worked on helping him scale that. I worked on building out a few new like initiatives for him that were like an entrepreneurs group where we both like educated people, and then that slowly evolved into, as my coaching company was scaling,
mm,
it slowly evolved into our software company, AR Funnel. And so him and
mm,
I started AR Funnel, and that was the craziest experience that I've ever had in launching a company, because of just how fast everything kind of
mm.
happened and took off. Also, the most stressful.
Yeah.
So it was very, very stressful. A lot of long, long nights and everything. But I think that was my biggest, when you ask that question, super long winded answer. But I think that was my biggest time where it was kind of like, I don't really have any other options than
Mm.
making this work, or I'm gonna go. I could go get a job, but the back, there's nothing wrong with people having a job,
Yeah.
but the backup plan is like everyone else's main plan,
Mhm.
basically, is how I saw it. So
Yeah.
I'm like, if I go do that, I can still be entrepreneurial within a company.
Mhm.
That's not a bad backup plan.
No, exactly. That's awesome, dude. For real.
Yeah. So I think that was kind of my equivalent to that situation. Um, but with those launches and with you kind of like building up V1, when did you get a warehouse for V1? Like, when did you outgrow the basement and need to buy space, and space in Dallas, Texas, nonetheless?
Well, yeah, that was once again very interesting. So, like, I did start in my parents' basement. I mean, 300 units, and half of that was pre-workout. It's relatively
Yeah.
easy to stock that. So I did
Yeah.
that, and then
Yeah.
my second, from there, I think like my second, third, and fourth launches. I honestly don't remember how many I did while I was at NutriCap. I used their 3PL. So they had like their system was actually very cool because it was an
Okay.
all-in-one. You'd come to them for a formula. They have everything in stock from, so you don't have to go and search out all the select ingredients. They have everything. They have their packer, co-packer. So they can pack everything. They have the label designers, so you can design with them, and then they have the shipping
Wow.
3PL. So I used them for a little bit. It was unbelievably expensive, and then once I quit, um, I randomly just stumbled upon Dallas just because I
Hmm.
thought warehouse space was going to be cheaper in Texas for some reason. I don't know why. And then I just randomly stumbled upon a warehouse that we still have. I just literally just signed the lease and everything before I even saw it. Like I just online, just So,
Wow.
all right, let's just
That's
do it.
crazy.
I look back at that and I'm like, why the hell did I do that? That's like
Yeah, that's crazy.
easiest possible thing to go wrong. Is like it was just the worst possible warehouse. It ended up working out. It was like it was not bad. It was a little bit annoying. The back of the warehouse, it's like super slanty road. So when like USPS drives up, it's kind of hard to get the pallets on there nicely. But other than that, it was nice. And now, yeah, we use that warehouse. We're kind of starting up, me and the manufacturer that I work with, kind of going in on a 3PL ourselves. We use that for all of my stuff and then added on all of their stuff that they manufacture. They had like a little bit of something going on, but we basically just took whatever they did with I think 5 to 6 other brands they had. They were packing up and sending out. Just moved over to my warehouse, and now my warehouse is just strictly just picking and packing. So,
Wow. So you're still using that same one in Dallas.
yep,
Oh,
yeah,
awesome. Sweet. And but you moved, right, to
yes,
Michigan?
yep. It's all
Okay.
in Michigan. I'm bouncing back probably every couple months. I go down there for a little bit, but because yeah,
That's
like
sick.
manufacturing is still down there. My warehouse is like 5 minutes from the manufacturer. Uh,
Wow.
yeah,
That's awesome. So then you are probably on, I'm guessing, meetings with your Dallas team, right?
yeah, yeah. No, so we text every day. The Packers, we have like a main guy who manages the entire thing, and then a couple other guys that kind of flip in and out. Yeah, we text every single day. Top on calls every single day. The manufacturer once, twice a month, or once, twice a week. Hop on calls, making sure everything's running good. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's nice. Honestly, I could be close to
That's
family.
sick.
My entire family's in Michigan. It's for me. I don't know about you. I the hot is just unbelievably like I can't do it.
It's brutal,
Texas is
dude.
crazy. I don't like the snow either, but I'd rather have the cold than the crazy heat. So
It is brutal. I'm kind of the opposite in terms of the cold. I don't
mhm,
like the cold, like outside cold.
mhm.
My wife would tell you that I keep like the house on a super cold level compared to what she's used to. But no, I can't do the like super. Which I would argue, or a lot of people argue that like the Oklahoma where I'm from and Texas cold with the wind can be worse than like some place that actually gets snowy and
Mhm.
is like technically cold.
It did, yeah.
Um,
I think I was in Texas for yeah, I guess 3 years. It did get damn cold. A couple ice storms while
yeah,
I was there.
definitely. The ice storms here are the worst. But
Mhm.
with that being said, do you plan to just kind of scale like Dallas operations with you guys going in on that 3PL and like what is the plan? Are you just doing that for vertical integration or what's the long-term plan with the two businesses now?
Yeah, so we really wanted to integrate together because the manufacturer technically is part owner. Not a ton. I think it's very little that they own a
Yeah.
V1. But that was kind of
Okay.
the deal. We want to go in on something. They want to be a part of it because they were making a majority of our stuff. We want to go in a packing situation. They were help us out with packing, at least some of the employment. They kept my warehouse. So it's a nice kind of team up. So we're going to continue to
Yeah.
try to scale that as much as possible. The manufacturer that I work with mainly is a very small manufacturer, to where we're not big, but we're one of their biggest clients. So I mean that gives you a little bit of an idea how big they are.
Yeah.
So that's the main plan, but that's like the online plan. So I'm still gonna do the drops, kind of do the cool exclusive stuff as much as possible on like the online or direct to consumer side, maybe TikTok a little bit. But the bigger side is the whole like retail, and we're kind of creating or trying to separate like not two different brands, but two different kind of styles of supplements.
I've seen
Where
that.
we have
I
the
saw you talk about retail only
mhm.
flavors.
Yeah. So we're trying to do like with everything, and you probably know it's you can't make a super different formula nowadays. Like everything,
Mhm.
at least pre-workout, almost looks the same. Like the only thing that's different is the label and the way you market it, and ingredients and dosages are going to change, but not a ton. Almost everything has
Yeah.
almost identical ingredients in there at the same dose. So we're trying to do things different as far as like the label different. The flavors is a big thing for me. I love making like
Mhm.
weird ass flavors because that like pops, and if you make them good, people are gonna like those weird good flavors. So we're trying to keep doing that, and then the whole retail side to kind of push into there because we've been trying to do a little bit with our online stuff. The formulas are crazy expensive, so the margins for retail because they want a certain amount of points is very small. So we've been okay like this retail store. If we're nice with them and we're friendly and we know them from something else. Okay, we'll toss you a couple and we'll probably take a little bit of a hit. Now we partner with Inspired Nutra. So Inspired Nutra is basically handling all of our retail. To whereas we're kind of separating it a little bit with them, we get way better deals. They can do
Yeah.
larger runs. They have all of the connects, the relationship with all the big retailers. And we kind of did a combined launch in the vitamin shop coming up in July. So it's going to be very cool to kind of see what happens. Right now, we only have, I wish I had it with me, but the V1X Prodigy, which is like kind of our high stim pre, still really loaded, but we get that kind of better deal with the bigger runs and everything. So it's better and more friendly with retail. They like it a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I guess trying to split it up, trying to grow the online presence with me and the smaller manufacturer and the bigger manufacturer slash inspired. We're trying to grow the whole retail side.
So what is your relationship with, because you have a role with Inspired, right?
Mm.
What does that look like? What is your relationship, like you, Conlan's relationship with them?
Yeah, so I am technically, my title is the VP of Growth and Innovation, and that's
Okay.
very vague, I guess.
Yeah.
I basically help almost with everything. So I'm handling a lot of the TikTok stuff. I'm trying to handle some more creative stuff, kind of push them in more of a direction that I've been able to capitalize on. So like I of course, and decent at least what I do, I've shown success over the past 4 years, um, basically doing it all by myself. So I'm trying to bring
Hmm.
in a little bit of that cool virality that I had with V1 and kind of push it into Inspired Nutra because their brand is awesome and I've loved them for a very long time. It's, I think, a great fit. We have two different kind of personalities when it comes into supplements and fitness. So
Yeah.
it's not like it's clashing with the customer pool. So it's very cool. I basically get to do what I do for V1 with Inspired and kind of work off of two different supplement characteristic types, if that makes sense.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And did I see you're working on an energy drink too?
Yes. No, I should be sampling those here actually in like the next hour as soon as I hop off this. But that's been like a
What
whole project. It's
yeah.
so about, I was looking in my phone today, 2022 November, I guess a year after I started, I flew out to LA to get samples from like Ghost's OG manufacturer or flavor lab. So like I did that and it like never ended up working out because I always had to think in the back of my mind, why would I spend like an extra 30 grand on this when I'm already selling out on my pre-workout and protein? I might as well just push it into there, grow that as much as possible before I kind of
Yeah.
switch avenues and go into something else, which I think a lot of people, I've had difficulty with this too, not sticking to one business, especially if it's doing good.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you double down on that business to try to gain that much more rather than trying to cut off half of what you're doing now and push into something else that maybe would
Hmm.
work? So if I have any advice for anybody out there listening, that's what I would do. Stick to one thing and ride it out until you know it doesn't work, then flip.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we started there. It just didn't work out because I pushed everything into the supplements, which I think was a great idea. It ended up working out really good. But now we met up with all the relationships I've gotten from manufacturers and everything. We got a great deal on doing a smaller run of cases, just a couple thousand at a very good price. And they make a lot of energy drinks. You guys, I mean, not the one that you're drinking right now, but drinks that a lot of people probably drink on a daily basis. So it's a very
Yeah.
good manufacturer. And yeah, we got a relationship with a guy that does personal sampling for his own. Like he has his own lab. He's an ex Glaxon guy, kind of the guy that made Glaxon who they are.
Okay.
Joey Savage, if you know who Joey Savage is.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, he's like he wanted to kind of work on it with us, and it's a cool, different energy drink. So instead of caffeine, we're probably going to use paraxanthine, which
Okay.
is technically it's like a caffeine kind of alternative. It's cleaner. I don't think it raises your heart rate or blood pressure, but still gives you that kind of energy boost. So we're technically able to claim zero caffeine on the energy drink, even though it'll give you the energy boost. It'll have a couple more
Wow.
ingredients
That's
mentioned,
actually
but
really cool.
yeah, it's different. And like I said before, I think if you're not doing something different or you don't have a story or something behind a reason why you're dropping a product or a flavor or something in today's social media day and age, I think it's going to flop. I don't think you're going to do good unless you have a little bit of background information to
Yeah.
make it different. And everybody's saying like all this stuff is, oh, this is better. This is like revolutionary. It's game changing. Like you don't need that. You just need to be like just different. And I always preach that. So
Yeah, I think you've done a really good job with your brand of like tying in those stories, right? Like you
yeah.
post a lot of day in the life stuff,
Hmm.
which I think allows people to understand like what it actually looks like to be an entrepreneur at our age,
Yeah.
right? And you also post a lot of like the home gym stuff, which I
Hmm.
think is what I initially kind of reached out about was as you were like building out your
Yeah.
home gym there in Michigan. And it's like those types of things allow you to be more accessible, which I
Hmm.
think is important because everyone's trying to make themselves look super big, super important, super successful.
Hmm.
And that can be good for a little bit of like validity, I guess, or social proof.
Yeah.
But if people don't feel close to you and attached to you and like they could be friends with you,
Hmm.
they're not going to buy from you. They're not going to trust you in
Yeah.
that way. So what was that a conscious thing at the very beginning, working in a lot of like storytelling and filming? I'm so jealous, dude, that you thought to film all of like the initial launches and like your reactions and stuff to them. I'm
I,
so jealous that you have that
dude,
video.
I'm lucky that I had like the presence of mind to be like, you know
Yeah.
what, let's just film like everything possible. So it is like crazy and awesome to look back on it, but I don't know. I don't think I ever had the idea of being like more personable, or at least just showing off my daily life. I just enjoyed capturing it, I guess.
Hmm.
As far as like all the day in the life stuff that really took off, and I think was the main, I guess, part of my TikTok fame in the very beginning that had like those crazy launches was like I posted like 3 or 4 day in the lives that got like 7, 8 million views, like maybe a
Yeah.
little less than that, but it was nuts. Um, but yeah, I just want to capture everything and create as much as possible. To where I loved, my parents used to always make home videos of us like dancing in the living room or birthday parties and everything. I'd love to just look back on those and just enjoy the memories. So that was kind of what I did, and I would suggest like Gary Vee, I think, says it all the time too. Is just like capture stuff. Don't try to like create these moments. Just capture what's happening, and people are really gonna like
Yeah.
that. And it comes off a lot more personable too.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, I got my first quote for you. I warned you
All right.
about these quotes. So, um, the first one that I want you to kind of consider, especially with your journey, okay, is if you never stopped doing what you did at the beginning, there would never be an end. Tell me how you think that relates to you.
Damn. Yeah, I think it's the whole aspect of, for me at least, doing what I love and not trying to listen to anybody else. Like if I'm doing what I love and pursuing something that really gets me up in the morning, gets me excited, it's never gonna end. Like I'm always gonna have that, and it's always something else. Like you said in the Instagram, where you found me was the gym, the home gym stuff, and
Mhm.
that was just like a whole different tangent. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna create a home gym, and I might as well just document it.
Yeah.
And it went from like a whole, it spiraled, and then like now like equipment people are reaching out to me and like giving me like all the racks, so like everything, almost everything was for free. And I'm like, holy shit! Like I'm not even a gym, like home gym guy. I'm a supplement guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think it's just you find something, pursue it, and if it takes off, that's awesome. Just uh, that is a great quote. I think it's just enjoying doing what you're doing, no matter what it is. It's never going to come to an end if you like it.
Absolutely. I think that's well said. What this is a question. It's kind of a quote, but I want to phrase it in the frame of a question because you've been through so many different levels of business,
Hmm.
and from all the things we've talked about today of like where you started and where you are now, going to the warehouse, now doing like a 3PL, now doing an energy drink, all these types of things. We talked a little bit about the different failures in business and kind of how they all stair step. This quote is, I'm going to say it, and then I want to ask you kind of a question alongside of it. So, the people above you aren't always working harder than you. They're just pulling different levers. Okay? I don't know if that makes full sense. So, with the different levels and stuff that you've been at in business, what has it looked like for you moving to where you are currently? Like, what are the things, do you feel like you're working harder now, or do you feel like what are those different levers that you're able to pull now that you maybe didn't have access to when you first launched in your parents' basement?
Hmm. Well, that's a great quote, and I'd say I'm probably not quite working as hard, at least like on the business. I'd say I'm maybe working just as hard, if not more hard, for the business.
Yeah.
Um, and especially now, those levers that I pulled, it's a whole, and that was the thing I had the most trouble with was giving up that control. Because if you want to get bigger and you want to gain really like huge successful status in the business world, you have to give up some, either a part of your business for equity or somebody else that has those relationships that you can use and
Yeah.
push the business
Yeah.
step further, or just get investors to get more cash flow, and you have to give up equity there. For me, it was mainly just giving up control to where I could just do the more, I guess, important stuff that I need to do on a daily basis, from like the website to like the working with the manufacturers, just
To your
until
content.
recently. And yeah, to the content, like literally
Yeah.
everything. The more I could focus on doing the stuff that actually was growing the business, the better. So like until 8 or 9 months ago, before I left Texas, like I was packing every single day still. Even when we had like the Black Friday, we had like 4,000 orders. Like that's
Mhm.
unbelievable. Like I can't pack that much. I had to fly my accountant in, the guy that works for me, and we packed all the orders for like 7 days straight.
Wow.
But it was like
That's a good accountant right there.
yeah, I know. Well, he's a childhood friend.
Okay.
He got a degree in accounting, so it kind of worked. We ended up working together.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's nuts. Like it, but once I was able to give up that whole shipping situation, which was up until 9 months ago, I was able to totally focus on the content, on gaining more kind of relationships with those other supplement company owners or other manufacturers. We got the freaking vitamin shop deal within the 9 months since I started doing this full time, like kind of by myself and giving up that, even though I had to pay three different people, and maybe it's a little bit more of a burden on the business financially, but we were able to make
Mhm.
that much more money to where it made sense to do that. So I'd say
Yeah,
just that whole risk of giving up that control of like, yeah, they're gonna mess up, but that's just gonna happen. I have to have a little bit of percentage it's gonna mess up. I even messed up when I was doing it. I gotta understand that. Um, yeah, I think that's the main thing. It's just being able to give up control and pulling those levers to where I can just focus on the thing that started it all was the content and the gaining the relationships with everybody. That's what did it.
for sure. Do you miss being able to go into like a spot each day?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah,
It is fun. It gives you a little bit of sense of purpose, you know.
it does. It does. We about I guess it was like October of 23. We had an office, we were going into it every day, and my partner on the software company, he ended up moving to Missouri,
Mm,
and he wants to move back now and get back to an office space, but initially it was like, we're a software company, like it's no brainer. Most of our employees are remote anyways, so it's
mhm.
not going to be a big deal. And we both really miss the, like, you can be busy, but just being in person at a place that's got your logo on
Yeah.
it, like it's, there's nothing like getting to do that,
Mm,
and you can still do the remote thing. I think it's beneficial to do it maybe a couple of times a week, like the
yeah.
hybrid models that a lot of companies are using now. But there is just something about being able to go into a place where you can collaborate with human beings in person that's
Mhm.
just so different,
Yeah.
and a little bit more motivating, honestly, too, than getting to work by yourself.
Yeah. I would 100% agree.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about the supplement reviews. We kind of like touched on that at the very beginning.
Hmm.
What made, because you were already doing V1, you
Mm.
already had a supplement company that you were trying to scale of your own. What made you make the choice to start to bring in and showcase other brands and talk about their stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we like you said, we touched on it earlier, and it's a weird marketing strategy that fell into my lap, kind of, but I didn't even
Yeah.
mean to do it on purpose. It's like I can, well, at the same time, I probably started V1 and then started doing the supplement reviews. And then I
Okay.
slowly just like trickled in a little bit. Oh, this is the new Catchy Performance pre workout. I'm starting a business. This is why the ingredients there. I almost broke it down exactly like I break down a normal supplement review, but I just love it. I love supplements. I know there's my brand is great and I try to make it the best possible. I know there's other unbelievable brands out there that are doing some cool stuff that I didn't even think of. They're innovating in the space. I want to try it out, especially energy drinks. I love energy drinks. I love protein bars.
Yeah, I do too.
I want to try every possible thing because I'm just a lover of the game. Like even if I didn't have my own company and I was working a normal 9 to 5 or working a different job, I'd still use all this stuff. And I'd still go out of my way to go to the vitamin shop twice a week and see what's new. So
Yeah.
it's just always been fun. Um, Recently, within the past year, I started actually like promoting brands by getting paid to do it. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a new thing I brought on. I still try to stay like as unbiased as possible and let people know like this is why. But then recently, 2 months ago, me and Sammy Stoll, I don't know if you know Sammy Stoll.
Mm.
He's another kind of reviewer in the space. He's part of the V1 team.
Okay.
He works for New Live as well. That's an ingredient supplier. We started Goated. So Goated Lifestyle is kind of just a culmination of all of the reviews, everything we've ever possibly done, all into a website, a blog that features like all the new news about
Wow, that's
supplements.
really cool.
And now, yeah, we're trying to work with supplement brands so we can provide a little bit better coaching either on their video side or we can do videos for them every month and we can do blog posts, we can do email spams, like everything possible for these supplement brands because I grew up in the space the past 4 years and I figured out a lot of stuff. Sammy's done the same thing, kind of the ingredient side. We've worked together. So that's kind of the new endeavor from the review side.
That's sick. Yeah, I didn't even see that. That's awesome. So is it more of is it kind of like an agency, like UGC type of stuff, or is it more like you guys providing your services as far as like videos and creation
Mhm.
and copywriting and stuff like that for the brands?
More
Like
us.
using your brand, your name and likeness.
Yeah, more just us because we've created like those platforms, especially like
Mm-hmm.
TikTok and Instagram. I have these huge platforms. While they know I'm the V1 guy, they know I own V1. Some people don't, and a lot of people
Yeah.
really just follow me for the reviews. So we have this whole 600,000 plus community of people that are out there just looking for kind of news updates and what's new and what's good, what should
Yeah.
we look for, information, education. So we're kind of just using that and helping out brands as much as possible, which once again is another marketing strategy, I guess, to push people towards V1 because it's like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's talking about all these other brands and he's
Yeah.
highlighting and he likes the other brands. His brand must be good. But no, it's fun. I enjoy doing it, and I think we can really help out a lot of people.
Yeah. And I do think that you do a great job at, because I remember the first videos that I was always seeing of yours were the supplement reviews, and that's why I think I initially started following you, was because like you did a great job breaking it down and like what you liked and doing the taste test live and all that type of
Mhm.
stuff. And then I started to see you kind of work in V1 and talk about it, and I'm like, this is so interesting.
Yeah.
Like this strategy of talking about like these other brands, and you kind of put like a spotlight on them for a bit, but
Hmm.
you also kind of like work in what you do and what you're passionate about. It's similar to like we our warehouse for in like the offices that we used to have, we're right next door to Rise, where Rise is now. I don't know
Oh,
if you've been
nice.
to
Yeah.
their new HQ, but like Brett does Brett Westover,
Hmm.
very similar type of stuff, and he'll review these other companies. And now he's part of the Rise team, and he's doing formulations and flavor testing and all that type of stuff for
Hmm.
them. Um, super cool strategy, and that's where I want to talk about, because I want to know if this was like a conscious thing for you to do. The supplement review stuff is the stuff that has the potential to go super viral,
Hmm.
right? Because you're just like, I'm a guy just showing up here to do a service of trying this so that you guys don't have to. And I know
Yeah.
it's a line that you started out with a lot, especially early on.
Hmm.
And then you started to then you do like value type stuff where it's like, you're gonna get to know me through my days in the life,
Hmm.
and through like, here's a throwback video of like my first reaction to doing 10K in a day on Shopify.
Yep.
And then you're gonna get to like interact, like support me on a deeper level through me posting about V1 and
Hmm.
my process and everything, building. Was that a conscious decision to like structure it that way?
Uh not really. The only conscious thing I'd say that I did was I don't like to post about my own brand. As weird as it is, I like to post like
That's
the new and
funny.
upcoming stuff and like the cool stuff that we're working on. But it's like when it comes to promoting and being like, "Yo, let's go buy that V1 pre," it's sick. Like I don't like doing that because no matter
Yeah.
what I do, it comes off to me disingenuous. Like
Yeah.
I
You
created it,
feel
I'm
you
gonna make
feel
money
like
from
a sellout or something? Is
it.
that
Yeah,
kind of like what you yeah.
like I don't. Even though it is a great product and I put it together as good as possible, I think it tastes great and it's really actually going to benefit you. I think me saying like, "Yo, buy this product and I'm going to make money off of you," I for some reason that just like ethically doesn't work in
I
my
think
head.
that's why
I
it
don't know
works so
why.
well for you though.
Yeah,
I think that's why it works, because you don't try and force it on people, and you're not
yeah,
super comfortable pushing it and
mhm,
selling it. And you're just kind of like, "Hey guys, like I've created this thing, like
yeah.
here it is if you want to."
That's that's what I try to do, and especially with everything else and like trying the other supplement brands, it's almost created all these relationships that I have now to where other
Yeah.
brand owners are like, "Yo, this dude's like, he's really great. He reviewed my stuff and he didn't even want any money. He loved it and he's even got his own brand." And it's been super cool for me to have like for me, relationships are king. Like I've gotten to where I am because of I've made all these relationships, like inspired guys. I was able to work for them. They were able to help me get into the vitamin shop, which is I would not have been able to do that by myself. The manufacturing team, there's so many things that I would not have been able to do by myself unless I had made that relationship. And if I would have just
Yeah.
posted V1 and been like V1 till the day I die, every other brand sucks ass. Like that
Mhm.
would have not gotten me anywhere. So I
Yeah, and
think if
that's the tightrope that you
yeah,
walk, really, like, when you started that out, because you could have like, it would have been real easy to for you to be tempted to just trash every
yeah,
single supplement that you tried and
hmm,
be like, "This is good, but it's not as good as mine,"
yeah,
like, that could have been a route that you chose to take
yeah.
easily. at the very beginning, and it would have paid off for you for a little bit, and until people realized like what you were doing.
Hmm.
But dude, I just think like I think your kind of recipe of content is so genius in how it's balanced. Like it's a lot of the same
Thank
stuff
you.
that we teach
Hmm.
people that are trying to utilize our software to grow their coaching companies. Is you've got the personal aspect, you let them in,
Hmm.
right? Like you post the day in the life stuff, you're posting the viral worthy content, you're also posting the value worthy. You're at, in Alex Ramosi terms, you're not like depositing and withdrawing like super quickly back to back. You're depositing a ton until
Hmm.
people are like asking you to withdraw, basically. And I've got to give you your flowers on that because it
Thank
is a truly genius just like approach to social. Whether you intended to do it that way or not, I think it works well.
I appreciate it, man. I was not conscious of it when I started doing it. I'm a little bit more conscious of it now, but it
Yeah.
works. I would employ anybody else that if you are starting a brand or starting something, like do other things, like do other things, whether it is the day in the life, show the story behind the brand, tell something to your viewers that's different than like, yo, my shit's gonna be good and it's dropping here. That
Yeah.
immediately turns from everybody I've talked to like off of your product, you yourself, and they just don't want to have any part of it.
Yeah. 100%. What is so for those of us that are avid energy drink drinkers,
Hmm.
what are ingredients? Because you always hear the stuff, the like horror stories about energy
Yeah.
drinks. And my wife, she'll listen to this, and she's one of those people that's like, "You've got to stop,
Yeah.
drinking
Well,
these."
so is my
And,
fiance, and
yeah,
she knows me. So
yes. So I want to ask you,
mhm,
being an expert in the field, what are some that we should stay away from in terms of like you don't have to name brands, obviously,
yeah.
because that puts you in a compromising situation. But what are ingredients that we should maybe be wary of or stay away from in energy drinks or some of these high stem things?
Honestly, I don't know if there's anything in particular because a lot
Okay.
of people, and especially in this space, it's like the it's dose dependent. For a
Yep.
lot of people that are like really fear mongering, have really no clue what the hell they're talking about
Yeah.
because it all depends. And I think if anybody ever doesn't say anything other than like it depends in any fitness, any supplement, like any dietary, anything, they
That's a
don't know
good
what the hell
point.
they're talking about because it like 100% depends.
Yeah.
You have like a heart defect or known high cholesterol or something of that nature, you probably shouldn't be taking down 300 milligrams of caffeine multiple
Yeah.
times a day with like a bang or a rain or something like that. So
For sure.
uh, really energy drinks themselves are not unhealthy unless you're drinking multiple monsters like full sugar of that nature. Yeah, that can probably get
Yeah.
unhealthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but no, I mean like Celsius is fine. That one gets a lot of hate for because people apparently had liver problems. That is a whole. I don't even think those things ended up correlating.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
What's your take on cyanocobalamin?
honestly, once again, I everything that I've seen from like artificial sweeteners, from like different like people just like the term chemicals,
Yeah.
uh, is dose dependent. Like if you're taking multiple spoonfuls of anything that's like the exact ingredient, you're probably gonna have some type of side effects. Or like even with
Hmm.
aspartame, it takes like 75 cokes a day, diet cokes a day to
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
hit
I
that
have seen
threshold
that
of
where
like
they're
maybe something's gonna happen once you drink
yeah.
75 cokes. And it's like, okay, like I'm gonna be fine with a couple a day. It's not
Yeah.
that big of a deal. But it also comes down to like how healthy you are. If you're training and you like have relatively good cardiovascular system, you have a decent amount of muscle mass, like your body's going to be a lot more well adapted to somebody who's sitting on their ass and is 400 pounds eating like pizza and cookies every single day, and then they take the diet coke and like that's the thing you're going to stop doing.
Yeah.
Like it's almost everything is completely fine in my eyes if you're having it like once a day or like every a couple times a week. So I don't think there's anything you should be afraid of, anybody out there from an energy drink standpoint. It's only if you are taking something like a bang or a rain that has 300 milligrams plus of caffeine and you're drinking
Yeah.
it 3 times a day, you should probably stay under 400 milligrams of caffeine a day is relatively healthy. So that's the only thing that I think would be the possible bad side effect.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well, I think that's reassuring. That's reassuring to me.
Yeah.
Hopefully my wife listens to this and she gets off my case a little bit.
Well, speaking of
Um,
that too, we're trying to do like I love low stim. So like we're trying to do a 16-ounce 100 milligram of caffeine drink. So like instead of the 100
okay.
milligrams of caffeine, it might be paraxanthine, but it's the same thing.
Hmm.
So in like you could drink 2 or 3 of those a day and you still be fine under that 300 or 400 milligram of caffeine daily limit that the FDA likes.
Yeah.
So instead of like a Ghost, you could have one and then a scuba pre. You could have two energy drinks of the V1 energy drink and still have a scuba pre and still be fine. So
Heck yeah.
that's my whole idea behind kind of creating something.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see kind of what you guys do with that. Do you have any type of timelines that you are able to share on that?
Hopefully, these samples should be good. I assume they are. I tried a couple that weren't these exact flavors a couple weeks ago when I was in Houston for a podcast. They were really good. So if these are turn out good, probably by the end of the year you should see something. But once again, like I said before, it's like we got a very good deal of only a couple thousand cases, which
Yeah.
for a normal energy drink run, you're looking at 500,000 bottles or 500,000 cans, which I guess
Yeah.
is what, like over 100,000 or just under 100,000 cases.
Yep.
A lot of capital to put up front. So this manufacturer, since I had that relationship with them, which I'm huge in relationships, they were able to just give me a couple thousand cases just because my social presence. They know I've done some work for them in the past, and it's super cool, and we're able to do that
Yeah.
for a very good price. So it'll be pretty exclusive, but that goes well. Maybe we'll expand more in 2025.
Yeah. That's huge. That's super huge. What else you got in the works? What personal fitness, brand stuff, anything you kind of want to hint at, talk about?
Yeah. Well, I guess the main one is the vitamin shot. So
Yep.
V1 will have our specific pre-workout V1X or high stim in vitamin shop early July. We'll have a collab product with Inspired and liquid glycerol. And then Inspired will have their own protein ISOPF, and I'll have my own like KJ ISOPF inspired flavor, which is super cool. For me personally, that's
Yeah.
awesome that I've been able to get like my own collab that's not a V1 collab. So that's super cool early July. Other than that, I don't know. I've always wanted to do a half Ironman. That's still on my bucket list. I did a half
Okay.
marathon 2 years ago. Um, so yeah, I definitely love to do that. I'd love to compete again within the next 5 years. But yeah, that's probably it. We're still just cranking as much as we possibly can on the V1. The vitamin shop thing was huge. So hopefully that goes over well.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm excited to go pick up a bottle.
Yeah,
I'm
I
super,
appreciate
like I said, I was so excited for this conversation and just getting to kind of pick your brain a little bit. I think there's been a lot of good stuff that you've shared, so I appreciate it. I told you about this question. I
it.
always ask towards the end of the episodes, what are you, Conlon, going to accomplish by any means necessary?
To probably get, well, not probably, by any means necessary, I'll get V1 to over a $20 million company within the next 5 years in revenue each year.
That's awesome. I
So
have no doubts to do it, dude.
that's the goal.
Yeah, that's sick. And keep leveraging those relationships, and
Mhm.
it'll probably be a lot quicker than that.
Yeah, I'm
So
hoping that.
that's I have no doubts you'll do that. You have been an absolute blast to talk to. Hopefully, we can keep in touch
Definitely,
and
dude.
just keep bouncing ideas back and forth. I can't wait to try out the energy drink that is hopefully gonna be a little bit easier in my
Yeah,
relationship
should be.
and
That was my
and
goal
run with
too,
that.
because my girl hates me having two a day. So if I
Yeah.
can have two of like my energy drink, I think she'd be cool with that.
Dude, I started at 2 a day. I started 1 a day and then went up to 2 a day whenever we were first starting out with the software
Mhm.
company, and it was, like, long, long days, and I had to stare at a computer screen and stay hyped on my calls all the time,
Mhm.
and then I've been at, like, 1 a day, either, like, this or coffee,
Yeah.
per day, and I usually drink these now on, like, if I know I need to be sharp for, like, an episode or something,
Hmm.
then or I'm gonna have a super long day, then I'll go with like a full on energy drink.
Yeah.
But I've scaled it down big time, and it is a pro. I just like the taste.
I
Honestly,
agree.
I like the
It's
taste.
the carbonation, the whole can. You crack it open, and then it's the taste. Like
Exactly,
you can
it's an
make that good
experience.
with 100 milligrams of caffeine. Yeah, yeah, the experience exactly.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what you come up with, man. But
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate your time. Seriously, this has been a
Yeah, thank you,
blast.
dude.
And I'm looking forward to building that relationship with you moving forward.
Definitely, dude. I appreciate having me on. This was awesome, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks, Colin.
Yes, sir. Peace out, man.
Guys, thank you so much. If you listened to this entire episode of the Bamcast, it means a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation with Colin. I know I did. I thought it was extremely interesting how we're both 25. But as we mentioned in the episode, we both had very similar kind of arcs through the fitness industry without ever crossing paths until now. So him being on kind of the product side and the supplement side, and me being on for the majority of my kind of career and the companies that I built on the service side. So it was super cool just to get to kind of hear how that's been for him and how we had very similar influences all along the way as well, being Christian Guzman and Frisella and Goggins and a lot of these other people. So I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. If you did, it would mean the world to me if you would share the show, even if it's just a timestamp on YouTube or Apple Music or Spotify or something that you want to share. And you're like, hey, listen to this part at 52 seconds or 52 minutes, right? Like sharing just a timestamp like that and having someone listen to it, maybe they'll get something out of that, or maybe they'll get something out of another episode and that can help them out. And that would mean a lot to me because I'm not running any ads, not doing anything to kind of push this out inorganically. I'm just relying on organic growth and word of mouth. So I appreciate you guys listening to these and sharing them as well. If you do want to make sure you don't miss another episode moving forward, follow the show on any type of audio platform and subscribe on YouTube. That's the way that you'll make sure you don't miss any of the upcoming guests that I have planned. I appreciate you all more than you know, and I cannot wait to see you guys next time.